This is Coach Lee, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about why your ex gave up on the two of you, why they gave up on you, or at least why it seems that way. Take a quick second and click the subscribe button below so that you can be notified when I have more videos like this, and that includes helpful videos on getting an ex back, relationship dynamics, marriage, attraction, and mindfulness. I also have videos, several that will be coming up in the near future on dealing with anxiety. So be sure to click that subscribe button below and let's get started. I don't have to tell you what it's like to hurt after a breakup. When someone has left you who you loved, who you saw a future with and you wanted to be with, it's painful, it hurts. And there's multiple reasons that it hurts. And unless someone has been there, and really unless they are currently there, it's difficult for them to truly relate. Because they'll tell you, you just got to move on. You just got to be tough. You just got to get back out there. They're well-intended, and positive energy, positive encouragement is a good thing. You don't want someone who just constantly says, poor baby. In other videos, I've told you why it's not a good idea to get your friends too involved in the breakup. However, if it's not a mutual friend with your ex, it's great to have someone you can lean on and complain to in small amounts, because they will stop wanting to be around you. But just know that when they give you advice, when they say things to you, that they do not relate to where you are because they are not there at the moment. And so even if they've been there before, it doesn't mean that they are an expert that you should listen to for your every move. Just keep that in mind. I hear often that when someone says, I don't understand why he gave up on us, or I don't understand why she gave up on us, that people will say, well, it doesn't matter, it's over. As though you should just move on. That's ridiculous. But at the same time, it's still a positive thing to have someone pushing you in at least another direction. So don't fully turn it away. The question, however, is a relevant one. It matters. You want to know why they gave up, why they stopped working. Did they not think you had a decent enough relationship that it was even worth giving it another shot and trying to see if it can work? I'm going to address that. And what I want you to know at first is that the answer is actually better than you might imagine. It's going to sound a little bit rough when I first get into it, but just know that it's actually not as bad as it sounds, and it's actually a better situation than if it were something else. It will make sense in just a minute. If you've watched many of my other videos, or you have my emergency breakup kit, then you've heard me say that the reason breakups happen is because attraction falls. And that is very true. People try to argue with me on this quite a bit. When I speak on conferences or places like that, or I'm on panel discussions, people will say, Coach Lee, you often say that breakups are caused primarily by a drop in attraction. And then they will try to debate me on that, which is perfectly fine. And oftentimes, afterwards, the person who tried to debate me will tell me, I didn't think about it that way, but that makes a lot of sense. And what it is basically this. Let's take the long distance relationship, for example. People will travel long distances, many hours in a vehicle or on a plane to see each other. And then a couple years later, all of a sudden, the distance becomes an excuse for the breakup. And they'll say, I just can't handle the distance anymore. I hear that so often, that someone will break up with another person and say that they can't handle the distance any longer. What changed? It didn't become longer. It didn't become a longer drive or a longer flight. Now, if it did, that's a different animal. But for our example, let's just say the people were in the same places and the same time separated them, the same distance separated them. Then what would change? Why would that drive all of a sudden become such a chore? It's because they weren't motivated enough to make the drive. What's the motivation in a relationship? It's attraction. And I'm not saying we all have to be supermodels. I'm not necessarily even talking primarily about physical attraction. It's emotional attraction that falls because they are already physically attracted to you. You passed the eye test, or they would not have taken that first step to get to know you, to get into the relationship. You passed the attraction in terms of the physical when you two started. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about emotional attraction. Now, here's the tricky part. Emotional attraction can fall because of issues that impact the relationship over time. It can wear on attraction. So for example, the long distance. Is that a negative for a relationship? Yes, it is. But if attraction's high enough, it is something that can be overcome. What happens when you start having everyday issues that all relationships are going to have? When you start having some arguments, emotionally, attraction over time can fade. And that's where relationships that already had some difficulties can fall. They can end. Because if normal issues will already be there, then those abnormal, for lack of a better term, situations like long distance or like very busy work schedules where the two can't see each other as often, or high stress situations, when more issues come up, that's when there's more effort to have to be with this person, to have to interact with this person. And if they become more and more negative because you two are taking anger, taking problems out on each other, then yes, attraction can fall. And attraction is the desire to be with someone, to be around them, to be in communication with them, to interact with them. That's what attraction is. And when that goes away, that's when the desire and the motivation to work on a relationship can go away. Maybe not completely, but at least enough to where over time, as they think about it more and more, leaving seems to be more attractive, especially if someone is seeking peace. Let's say that you two bicker a lot and you argue and you fight and there's a lot of drama and stress in the relationship. Then peace, getting out of it, actually seems more attractive, because having to deal with the relationship and not necessarily whether they care about you or love you or not. What actually matters at that point is just simply if the relationship is a difficulty in their life or a source of peace, pleasure, comfort, commitment, positive things. And so when those positive things go away or diminish greatly, the motivation to be in the relationship goes with it. So when you ask, why didn't they at least work on it? Usually they have. The answer to that question is usually they have. It seems like they didn't. It seems like they just came to you out of the blue and said, I want to break up. Like it just happened overnight. And for many of you who are caught off guard, that's what it feels like. Like they just showed up and broke up with you. But usually, if we're talking about a relationship that's a year or more, usually the breakup was something that took months for them to come to the conclusion that they wanted to actually have it. And they fought themselves. When they first started thinking that maybe they didn't see a future with you and maybe they wanted to break up with you, that maybe that was a possibility, they fought it. And they thought, I just need to be around them more. This weekend will be good for us. We need some positive things to go on. Now, they wouldn't put it into those words, but that's what it feels like. And they start to put too much emphasis on the next get-together, the next event the two of you will share, the next date. They think that it will have a saving quality to it, that that's what you two need. Just wait until after this. And so a lot of pressure is put on the get-together, the date, the event, when they're considering the breakup. And so that's when it's dangerous, because you don't even know usually. Now, sometimes they'll tell you, but oftentimes they don't. They don't want to tell you. They don't want the drama of having to discuss it. And so they're putting all this emphasis on what's going to happen. And you were just thinking maybe you two could stay home and order a pizza. You see how a big problem could be set up. So then as things don't seem to get better, or they feel that attraction just keep fading, when attraction starts to fade, it's more difficult to get attraction to come back up than it is to fix some of the situational things. So for example, if someone breaks up with you and then they tell you, I'm breaking up with you because of XYZ. Take the long distance relationship. I don't know how many times someone has told me, they told me we were breaking up, that they were breaking up with me because we were 300 miles away or whatever. Then when I said, I'll move to where you are, I'm willing to do that, they didn't say, okay, perfect. Usually they tell them in that situation, no, I don't want you to do that. Now, think back. If it had been a year before when there was tons of motivation and attraction, they would have jumped on that. What changed? Attraction, which is motivation. Attraction changed. That's why when people offer that after a breakup, thinking, well, that's just the reason, it's just this distance, that's all, then they are usually shocked that the other person says, no, don't do it. And it's because that person, while wrestling with the idea of breaking up with you, finally came to the conclusion, and again, usually it's weeks or months or longer, they came to the conclusion, this is what I want. And so they come to you and they tell you they want the breakup. Now for them, they've had a long time to reason it out and to come to terms, to come to grips with the fact that they want the breakup. For you, it's brand new. So you two are at total polar opposites in terms of your frame of reference for this. And so for you, it's like, why won't they work on this? They're not even going to try. Usually they've been wrestling with it. Usually they've been trying. Oftentimes they don't even tell you there's an issue. They don't tell you that attraction is waning, because that's a really awkward thing to say. Who would say, I'm just not feeling as attracted to you as I used to? Usually you hear that at the breakup if it's going to be said. Usually they don't want to say that, and they'll give you some excuse like distance, or we bicker a lot, or I need to work on myself, or I need to focus on my career. All of those things, if they were attracted to you enough, they would be meaningless. They would be very minor hurdles that they are perfectly willing to leap to be with you. And so it is completely backwards to focus on those issues, because they are not the issue. The issues aren't the issues. Attraction is the issue. And that's why so many times when people will tell me they listed these things and I fixed them, and I came to them like I was giving them a report. And I said, I fixed this, I fixed this, I fixed this. First of all, if it happens too quickly, they don't believe it, because people make changes slowly. And so they just will be skeptical. Plus, it took them a while to get to the place where they said, I have no other options. I've got to break up with this person because I don't want this anymore. And so if you come to them in a week or 48 hours or whatever, and you say, I've changed, everything is perfect now. First of all, they're going to be highly skeptical that you could change that fast. But second, they know this took them a long time to get to. And so they're going to be cautious about just jumping right back into it with you. They feel like that if it's going to be natural, that it has to happen at a similar pace, that they have to think about it. They have to get some of those feelings back. And you can't get those feelings back just right away. That's the tricky part, is that even if the issues cause the drop in attraction or contribute to it, fixing the issues does not instantly revive attraction. It takes time to get attraction back. And a lot of times, that's part of what creates attraction in the first place, is time and interaction, where you have positive interactions with each other, where you can be flirtatious, where you can feel those connections, feel those butterflies. And because they have become somewhat numb to you, because they have started associating you with the negatives, that will take a while before it develops again. That's why no contact can be so effective. Partly because you're not chasing after them, which means if you're chasing after them that they're actually running away, emotionally speaking. But also because since they don't have you in your current state, which if they broke up with you, at the moment you are the least attractive that you have ever been to them. If we go back 6 months or a year or 70% of the relationship ago, you were more attractive. That's why those issues weren't as important, and they were staying in the relationship in spite of some of them, or even all of them. You see, you were more attractive at that point. And so your current self is not as attractive, which means you want to make sure that you're not putting that version of yourself out there in front of them. You need to step back and take a look at this. What do I need to work on? Is it my fault? Is it their fault? Is it just that relationship has fallen because life happened and we didn't react well to it? There's all kinds of reasons that can contribute to it, but the reasons are irrelevant until attraction is higher. Even if you fix those things, if attraction is not high enough, it does not matter. So step back. Use the no contact rule. And I talk about that in other videos. I'll link to that in the description below. And I will also link to my emergency breakup kit where I dissect the no contact rule and how it can help you get your ex back. I'll link to the emergency breakup kit in the description below. But hear me on this. The no contact rule means you exist only in the memories of your ex, which means they're going to think back. They're going to reflect back on some of those fun times you had. And so you let that guy or that girl be the one to step up. It's like you're subbing in this person who used to be you, who was more attractive. And we're going to let that play in their mind for a little bit and let that serve to reattract them some. Now, your current self needs to learn some from the old self, because a lot of times we stop doing the things that we did in the early days, or at least earlier in the relationship. And we need to get back to some of those things. But it can also be things that were not good, were not attractive about us, even during that time, that over time eroded attraction from this person. And so we can improve and actually be better than we were. So when no contact does work and they at least want to see you face to face and kind of just check and see how they feel around you, because a lot of times that's the reason why they want to see you after no contact. They start wondering about you, and I go through the stages that your ex goes through in no contact in another video, which I will also link to in the description below. But just know that they start to feel some of that attraction again. And since you're staying away with your current self, you're not able to push back. You're not able to whittle down that attraction anymore. It starts to come back a little bit, and they feel some of that. And so they just want to see you face to face to double check it, because again, this took them a while to get there. And so when they see you, if you have worked on some of those issues and you are even better than they remember, that's an attraction boost right there. And that can give them the motivation to where they say, I'm attracted to this person. I'm attracted to the relationship. And so now I'm motivated to work through some of these issues we might still have. So if you feel like your ex just gave up on you and you're wondering why and it hurts so much because of that, just know it's not that your ex thought that you two weren't worth working on the issues for. Because if you fix the issues, your ex is still going to feel the same way. It's that attraction wasn't there. Most likely, if your ex thought they could get that attraction back by working on the issues, they would. And they probably did. But it's a big challenge when you're trying to do that if attraction's low. And so in many ways, it's not that they feel that you two aren't worth it. It's that the relationship is much different than it was. Their place in it feels much different. And your place, as far as they're concerned, feels much different. And so they don't have the motivation and attraction to want to be in the relationship anymore. And if you can raise attraction, a lot of times those issues won't even matter. It doesn't mean you shouldn't work on them. You need to work on those issues for sure, but only after attraction is up high enough to where both of you want to, where it makes sense, where they are motivated to work on those issues. Giving up is when you feel that no matter what, you can't succeed, and so you might as well quit. The difference here is that your ex did not want to succeed because they didn't feel attraction, and so in many ways your ex felt like it was already over with. It wasn't that your ex said, this is a good thing, but I don't care. So your focus needs to be on increasing the attraction that your ex feels for you. The step to do that, the first step, is the no contact rule. And I get into other things you can do in other videos and in my emergency breakup kit. But I want you to know that you should focus more on attraction rather than fixing all these things you think are issues or that they told you, and then coming to them as though you're reporting and you're saying, I fixed all of this. There, we can get back together. Because if they don't have that attraction and that motivation, it won't matter. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also, get more information on my emergency breakup kit. I'll link to that in the description below. You can also leave me a tip if this video or other videos have been helpful to you, and I'll leave a link to my tip jar in the description below. This has been Coach Lee, and as always, thank you for watching.